everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Tyler, we talked the arena weeks and weeks back, but we're also going to check out another season 2 episode of Master Universe tonight, Betrayal of Stratos. It's got everything that you need. We got demons, we got mazes, we got sabotage. There's so much going on within this episode.
We got betrayal. It's in the title.
Well, yeah, but sabotage is sort of the biggest aspect of this, which sets in the motion of the betrayal.
Yeah, and we've got framing. We've got, well, in my opinion, I still look at it as a first appearance, even though technically it wasn't. But in my opinion, I consider it the first appearance of one of the best second season Evil Warriors to show up. So, and we have one of I think it's also the best Stratos story that's heavily Stratos focused. Even though he's been kind of a supporting character for most episodes, he has his moments and things like that, like Reign of the Monster and stuff like that. But that episode sucks.
On the top of your head, how many episodes was Stratos in? I said Stratos. There we go. How many episodes was he in? If you had to try to pinpoint it. I don't have the answer or nothing. So
I'd rather just name the episodes as as opposed to trying to count them.
Well, go ahead.
I mean, Diamond Ray Disappearance, Colossal Awakes, Disappearing Act, The Curse of the Spellstone, She Demon of Phantos, Betrayal of Stratos, Creatures from the Tar Swamp, Reign of the Monster. Those are the ones that come to mind right off. I'm thinking like he has like a background shot in like Mystery Many Faces.
You know what? I hope James is listening to this. He's probably got a checklist. He's like,
oh, of course, because he can pause this, go and look up everything, and then present himself as if like like he's got all. I thought you were trying to say like he had the exact number. So
no, I mean in his mind.
No. The ones I named, like I'm like he can challenge me on that because I know I'm right on the ones I named.
Right on.
But those are the ones that immediately come to mind, like immediately, in terms of like, he's there, or it's a short cameo, or he's in the background, or he has a prominent role in that episode. But this to me, seeing this as a kid this was like a big deal because this is a Stratos-centric episode. I'd never seen Avion before. I had no idea that he was even a part of a race of people. I never thought about that when I first saw this as a kid. So this was a big eye opener episode to me, as we'll get into it. But I feel like I championed so many episodes that people just don't seem to care about, talk about, or even like. But you know what?
We'll get into an aspect of that towards the end.
Oh, we will. But I take great pride. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm just seeing things that people just aren't seeing, or they're taking everyone else's judgment of like it's all about a handful of episodes.
Is this episode kind of generally looked upon the fandom as not that great in everyone else's opinion?
I think it's just kind of under the radar. I never knew it to be an episode that was really talked about much, brought up as like best of, or certainly not worst, regardless of what a certain reverend may think. But it's just like I said, there's a bunch of episodes that I love that just don't get talked about, and I think that's just one of those things that would always bug me, or I would always have so much to say is like, how come no one ever talks about this episode, or how come they don't talk about that episode? That film was great in that episode. How come no one ever talks about that? It's just always like the same few episodes again, in which, granted, I champion those as well. But Evelyn's Plot's another one. I never heard anyone ever talk about that episode until I started doing podcasting, and then I feel like I'm not saying I'm responsible for that. Hell no, but I just never saw any recognition for that episode for what it was, what it showcases, and the great storytelling in it. So it's just always been about Tila's quest, Diamond Ray, Problem with Power, maybe Cat and the Spider, and some others, and they just kind of feel like it's the same. Dragon's Gift, of course, House of Chakotay, ones that they're A+, but almost feel like there's so many other great episodes that are under the radar.
I see where you're going with that too, because I guess you sort of. I'm going to look at it in the way of music. So with bands, like obviously they have their big hits that everyone knows. So basically, what you're saying is you want a little more deep cuts from people when they're talking about their favorites.
Yeah, and that's a great analogy because when I listen to certain CDs, like I start to like, okay, you know what? I've listened to like the one song I really wanted to listen to, and I'll venture off and like, oh wait, that's a really good song that just is not showcased or never got a music video or it's never played on the radio or
Mhm.
never talked about. Like it's almost like you found something that no one else notices, and that's how I felt with a lot of He-Man episodes. Like I said, because I couldn't watch all of them until I got them on VHS, but it just seemed to be so many that I had access to on VHS for like some of the really good ones. I mean,
Mhm.
just ones that I'm like, I think are vastly underrated, underappreciated, or like I think people like Pawns of the Game Master, but it's just not a heavily celebrated episode. Um, Shadow of Skeletor, another great episode. Disappearing Dragons, one of my absolute personal favorites, but I think it's unanimously liked. It's just not talked about that much, and I think that's just one of those things. Like I just have a lot to say about these episodes that just and maybe they are, and people just aren't that vocal about it.
True.
You know, I think I
That
think
could be the other end of it.
yeah, and I think especially today, it's just about the toys.
Well,
You know,
let's actually kind of break that aspect of it down a little bit because when you're saying all this stuff about people don't talk about these, da 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 da. Are you kind of looking at it more from how the fandom was, let's say 10, 15 plus years ago?
I'm even going back to the old days. As far back as the early 2000s, like when the NYP series was going.
Okay.
Because I would go on the board, the He-Man.org forums even back then, even before that show debated, and you know um I just would just not see a whole lot of episodes. I mean, people would talk about anything and everything, but I just felt like there was episodes that just I never saw mentioned. And of course, when that top 10 DVD came out, and you had the access to vote on every episode that was available from season one, season two, and
Uh-huh.
I just thought, really, people, like it just kind of hammered
What
into like,
was this vote just strictly on the org or
yeah,
something or
yeah,
okay.
yeah, it was something that they were given access to, and I remember voting several times, and that was a cool thing back then because there was a lot of things that Val's site like put a lot of polls up that would help come up with a final result for a product or characters. Like when Classics was going, people would vote like how many very obscure characters would you to see in this line, or and things like that, and that was one of them. And I remember voting on I think several times, I think, and just felt heartbroken that when it was released, and I've said this before, but it was like, man, like Diamond Ray and Teal's Quest was on there, but and Evil Seed was on there, so that was cool. But I think I've still got it in the other room there, and it just be kind of it was just very, very lackluster. Actually, I think excuse me, it was 10 episodes total, 5 from season 1 and 5 from season 2, and
Mhm.
I was like, "This sucks, man." So, and it just kind of felt like this is all I've got, and hopes that they will release the rest. I thought, if this is all I'm gonna get, and this sucks, man.
Yeah, that is kind of a bummer, but it's actually when you think about it, kind of a smart move to test the waters to see
Yeah.
if it would sell well enough to warrant putting out the rest of it.
Yeah, and I don't remember it being too terribly long when it was announced that they would be releasing both seasons and breaking it up into 4 volumes. And you were with me because I
I
got the
was.
first one, yeah, and it broke street date.
Yep.
Yeah, and boy,
What
you
was
talk about
that? Was that Best Buy or Target?
Target. It was on a Saturday night because it's supposed to come out on Tuesday, and
I
it was
remember that.
there. And yeah, I was
We went
just
over, we clicked the CD button, lifted it up, flew. We did a little
yeah.
dance. We walked over to the DVD section, and there it was. And you freaked out. Did I also buy it, or did I wait?
I think you waited. I think I
I
was
may
the only one
have.
who bought it that night. Yeah,
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 yeah. I think it was one of those things where you got it, and I was like, your enthusiasm for it resonated with me later. Much like, I
yeah,
mean, this has happened plenty of times over the years when it comes to buying action figures or other movies. If you get excited about something and you're picking something up, or I get it vice versa, I'm picking something up,
yeah.
it kind of hits that, you know what? I should get one too. And I always think about the George Carlin bit where it's just like we won't get into it, but it's basically just helping the the economy essentially.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, uh,
And I guess I always thought back then, like, man, I'm never going to get him converted to like he's picking up the figures and things like that. But I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get him to sit down and watch the He-Man episodes, Thundercats, and She-Ra, and just like he's got it, but like I cannot get him, motivated enough to sit down and give it a genuine try. Like I do remember that one brief run where you sat and was trying to watch
yeah,
season one in chronological order and
yeah.
got to the royal
Cousin,
cousin and then
yep,
quit.
cousin Jeremy.
Yeah. Ugh. Uh, but and I was like, oh man, and I so wanted to like interview you about your thoughts on all these episodes you'd
Interview
watched.
me.
Yeah, that's how. Oh,
It's just
tell me what you thought, dude. You know, because I didn't have any other outlet. I couldn't talk about He-Man with it. It just you go on the boards and like you post on occasion and no one would respond. And you're like, this is kind of lackluster. So it's
right.
just you just kind of would go and read stuff. You had no outlet for it, so it was a big deal. When you decided you were going to try and watch that, and if I had a sock drawer back then, I would have crawled in it and slept for days when I found out you stopped watching it.
But hey, look, here we are now.
Yeah, here we are all these years later, man, doing a podcast about it. So
Well, let's go ahead and dive in here to Betrayal of Stratos. So, written by David Wise or
yeah,
David Wise.
David Wise, who was famously known for his run on Ninja Turtles, he wrote a lot of the earlier episodes, and he also wrote and He-Man. He wrote The Search, which is a fun episode featuring Zodak and Eye of the Beholder. Those are the episodes that come to mind right away. I'm pretty sure he wrote some others, but those are the three that always come to mind. And plus, if I knew all of them, I don't want to bore everyone to death with going down everything that he's done. Like I don't want to sit there just toot my own horn, that kind of crap. But
And also directed by Steve Clark. Did
Mhm.
Steve direct other
He
episodes?
did. I couldn't tell you the directors other than like Gwen Wetzler. I the directors just never stuck out in my head. It was always about the writers when I really should be giving the directors just as much credit too. But I just feel like over the years too, people were celebrating the writers from Larry DiTillio and Paul Dini, Robbie London, and Michael Reeves, and then another one never gets mentioned is Douglas Booth. So I just kind of felt like the directors, like people like James, like knows emphatically, and even got to talk with a lot of them, I think, as well. But for me, it was just remembering, like, hey, I've seen that name before. Paul Dini. Paul Dini. He wrote that episode too, and you start putting that stuff together. So that's just what I started paying attention to because I would recognize those writers were throwing up on a lot of episodes. I'm rewatching a lot, and I said, okay, I'm putting quality together with their names, and with good reason because they were responsible for writing a lot of the best episodes, not just on He-Man but on other TV series as well.
Is that something that you probably not as early on, but later? Would these be episodes that you would start to seek out? It's like, all right, we talked about David working on Ninja Turtles, and you were talking about other directors, other writers. When if you saw their name pop up on stuff, or would you do the research to find, hey, they worked on this specific episode, let me watch it, and just be like, yeah, this episode stands out above its I was gonna say peers, but come on, it's the
Yeah,
same show, the same episode. You know what I'm
yeah,
trying to say?
yeah.
Like, what were you starting then to kind of dig more and find? Let's find this episode of a tall salad cartoon, anything that has
Uh,
cross pollination here.
GI Joe, Thundercats.
Yeah, any of those. Would you pick that and see like I want to find this episode that they worked on and watch it and see how it compares to others in the series?
I started paying attention to names, I think, when I was a teenager because I started renting the tapes. What like I never stopped, but when I was a teenager, I started paying attention to more details, even more so than I was a kid. And Larry DiTillio, I think, was one of the first name I remember associating because I started putting together. Okay, he's written The Dragon's Gift, he's written Disappearing Dragons, he's written House of Chakotay. Like I'm like, okay, I think that was the first name, and of course, Diamond River Disappearance because I watched that episode so many times. So Robbie London immediately came to mind, and then eventually some of the others that I mentioned as well. Like it was just from repetitive viewing. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to recognize and then would learn that Paul Dini worked on Batman animated series, like going back and have access to those episodes when they were coming out on DVD and what few were on VHS. It just kind of like snowball like that. And I wasn't sure, like when I saw David Wise on Turtles, like, is that the same David Wise that worked on He-Man? Like, sure enough, yeah. Just like there's so many names, you just have all you have to go by is what you have access to in terms of videos and TV, and
Hmm.
internet stuff is kind of limited. Especially, I didn't get access to the internet in my own home until I think 2001.
Hmm.
So it was pretty much just kind of going by repetition of
That's
rewatching this stuff over and over again.
that's awesome that you paid that much attention to credits, because
Yeah,
I never did that. Uh, Probably until honestly, I probably didn't start doing it until you and I became friends and you started really getting me into movies.
yeah.
That's when I started paying attention to more of that kind of stuff.
That and that same thing with movies. You just start paying attention, like John McTiernan, like that's the guy who directed Predator. Well, no wonder I like Die Hard so much. And just things like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the music's really good in this. Like Alan Silvestri, like, okay, he did the Predator score. Like, well, he did this too, and that's just how it was. My affinity for what made He-Man so good, that how I looked for stuff, went into the movies and other cartoons as well, and started like putting together. Okay, these are the guys who know what they're doing. These are the directors, the writers of films, the composers. Like when Jerry Goldsmith did the Rambo thing. He also did Basic Instinct, Planet of the Apes, and the list goes on and on. And Danny Elfman and Bill Conti. Like you just keep going and going, and you just start putting all these things. And I'm not the only one to do that, of course, but that's just how I really got involved with like wanting to know why I'm enjoying these cartoons and movies so much, because all these recognizable names I'm seeing popping up a lot in all these movies, like they're associated with a lot of stuff I love, man. So
Yeah.
they clearly, in my opinion, they're delivering what I want to see in entertainment, from movies and cartoons and television shows.
I I rewatched Predator last week. We'll get to that towards the end of the episode. But the script was approved May 4th, 1984. Not too. You were like a month old.
Yeah.
Final script revision July 11th, 1984, a little bit after I was born. And for whatever reason, James in his book here only included the UK air date, which wasn't until September 15th, 1986. So one would assume that this premiered here in the States at some point in
Oh
1984.
yeah, yeah. And James has been quite vocal. The entire run of Master of the Universe took several years to get played in the UK, whereas even though it started first in the UK, we got it all,
Mm-hmm.
like very quickly. But that would have been kind of cool to think you have all these years, like you're still seeing new episodes. Like, oh my God, like, you know. But I wouldn't have known the difference anyway, because I couldn't see episodes on TV till I think 87,
Yeah.
and then of course in 89, when I'm starting to pay attention to like what cartoons come on what channel, and um and then God bless the video stores, man. I wouldn't have been able to see much at all if those video stores didn't carry 80s tapes well knee deep into the 90s, man. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I had a store here that had those tapes well into the
Oh
2000s. So
man, but yeah, it just to think, oh, this is unbelievable. And of course, I own some of them already, but it's still just like, oh my God, there's He-Man and She-Ra tapes you can still rent today in 2002. This is like,
yeah.
don't tell anybody that we're here, man. I don't want anyone else to know about this. Not
I
that
mean,
anyone else would
I don't.
care.
To be fair, I don't think anyone was going to that place renting He-Man tapes, but
No, I don't think so either. But it really did feel like we just discovered like time travel, dude. Don't tell anyone else, man. We gotta be the only ones to know about this. It was just in our area. It meant a lot, man, because we live in a rural area, and those
yeah.
businesses had all gone the way of the dinosaur, and nothing had
Yeah.
ever taken its place. So
Or
so the
if there were video stores obviously still in existence, they it's made mostly the
DVD.
switch to DVD. So
Yeah, yeah, because even though that place was doing DVD, they still had a ton
a
of
ton of
VHS.
VHS.
Yes, I mean it
It
was
was
just like that.
amazing.
It was just like it, which you used to rent there too, didn't you? Back in
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
I,
I've said this story a few times, but the owner, the guy that owned the place, it was like a family business. So like his wife worked there, his kids when they got old enough started working behind the desk, but he knew my parents, and I would just roll in there, 12 years old, 13 years old, Howard Stern, Private Parts. It's like, yeah, all right, no problem. I was like, all right, cool. He'd be like, is your dad okay with this? I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
You know him, like it's good.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
know George.
yeah,
We're all yeah.
I would go and yeah, just rent rated R movies all the time. But here we have our exterior shot as we're kind of panning in. What are your initial thoughts on the home of the bird people?
Amazing. Like it's something. It was just the shots go by so quickly, but I was immediately drawn in. Like, oh man, we're getting to see like Stratus as a race of people that he belongs to, and just getting to see their home, or well, their kingdom is built among the rocks, high up. Um, just very fascinating to see all these human people who can, they're not animal like or anything like that. They just have a costume that's kind of similar to Stratus, but different. Like the goggles have no, they're not shadowed out or anything like that. So it was cool to see it's a wide variety of men and women, existing as bird people. They all can fly, and they're on guard and things like that. And seeing a hawk here too was it was just eye opening to see more and more of these people just within seconds of this episode opening up. Was just like, oh man, I'm especially because of this tape had 5 episodes that I'd never seen before. So to start it out with the expansion of Stratos, like this backstory already, like you're like, wow, I had no idea any of this existed, and that their power came from, which was changed to the egg of Avion, which I like that. I think some people may not care for it, but
Well, what was
um,
it changed from?
like the staff of Avion, I
Okay.
believe was like the source, um, but I like, then it also kind of wonder like, well, how far or how it's just kind of one of those continuity issues that just seems to kind of
Hmm.
be non-existent. But it just made me think like, all right, Stratus is off on Phantos helping He-Man out. He's couldn't be further away from the egg of Avion on the moon of Phantos.
How is he still able to fly?
Exactly, but he doesn't
Right.
fly in that episode. So it's just one of those things, like in terms of logic, it does kind of paint like, it's almost like a kryptonite to the bird people of Avion. Like they cannot go too far,
Mhm.
or or maybe you've been around it, so maybe you can go maybe 2 or 3 days.
That's
And
what I was thinking when I was watching the episode. I was like,
yeah,
well, what is the duration here? Is it more so a distance or a time period away from it so much?
I'm
Is it
thinking more.
both?
I think it's more time period because you kind of get that vibe in this episode, like when they go into the demon zone later on, and Stratus tries to fly, and he just falls to the ground,
Yeah.
and tells him, "I'm starting to lose the power of flight." Like, so they've got the fact that he's been exiled, he's flying, has his battle with the Karok. They go back to Avion,
Hey
the egg
man,
is
we
gone.
we gotta build up to that, Tyler. Come on.
Oh, sorry,
Let's
sorry.
start here from the beginning. So
Okay.
what do we have going on here?
Well, I think when we're introduced to Hawk here, and she has a very villainous voice, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Because I just as a kid, I'm like, okay, I don't like her voice just because she just sounds, you know,
Yeah, you
uh,
get that right off the bat. You're like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. It's just Linda Gary again should have won an Oscar for her many voice talents. Of She just can make anything sound so sweet or villainous or both,
yeah.
and she just makes Hawk automatically unlikable because of that kind of. I still to this day have no idea how to, and she's a memorable character. I would love to see her, redemption story, because this is the ultimate crime that she will, perform in this episode. But um I like her voice even more as an adult because it makes her stick out a lot more. And well, you know what? If I keep talking right now, I'm gonna blow other points that
Yeah,
we could
well,
be making later on. So go
the
ahead.
big aspect here early on is the field generator. It's basically it's sort of like protecting
Yeah.
from evil
It encapsulates
forces.
the entire, that way that no one can just fly in and attack them, even though they got guards watching and monitoring, ready to go into attack, if anyone were to. But no one can just blatantly start showing up and firing on Avion, and just blindside it. No, they'll know you're coming, but you also got to get through their force field, which I like that
I do too.
it's, because they are such an exposed colony. Like, it's not encapsulated in rock or anything like that. This is just a wide open
Space.
kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would make sense that they would need a force field generator to I mean, how could any of them sleep at night or rest knowing they're just completely wide open for attack
Yeah. So
in rocky
Strato,
formations?
so Stratos, it's been told is like there's something going on with it. It's not functioning properly. Stratos is going to
Well,
go.
he just says like, oh, okay, yeah, never mind. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. He was just telling, and like when he runs into Hawk, he's like, "What do you?" And she's like, "What are you doing here?" Which clearly means something to her. But he's like, "I'm just checking on the force field generator or something." To she goes, "No, no, no.
yeah.
I was going to do the same thing." She says, "Well, I'll leave it up to the experts. I don't want to do your job for you." So I like that leadership statement he says. It's like he rules the people. He is their leader, but he's also very respectful of everyone and their placement in the kingdom of Avion. Avion, excuse me. That he's like, you know what? I don't want to step on any toes. That's your job, and I'm going to go, go check on the radar and patrol and see how things are looking. So,
So here we go. He's talking.
and then boom, we got an
Yep.
alarm goes off, and this made me so excited because it was Triclops, not just Trapjaw and Beastman, but Triclops was featured in this air assault attack with the war slides. Like, oh, I was so pumped to see him involved with this battle.
Yeah, it's nice to see more than two
Yeah,
or more than three here. It's nice to see a good solid number in behind Skeletor.
yeah, I
Make
agree.
it
And
four total.
it started it just now thought like what it would look like if Evil Lynn was on one of those war sleds because she's never doing she may ride in the basher, but she's never on a war sled. It's always the guys doing that. And I kind of felt like maybe her cape might get in the way. It might get caught in
Uh,
the on the
that
on
yeah, that's certainly a possibility, I suppose.
Yeah, because even though Skeletor is the Lord of Destruction, he is the mad sorcerer. It's not like he's above writing it. He's going to go into into the air assault as well. But it made for such a great visual when the alarm goes off and you go, it's Skeletor, and you just see all four of them. Like, here they come. No warning. They're just here. And Stratus is told that the defenses are down. Like, we don't know
Hmm.
what's going on. Like, all of a sudden, like our force field's not working. So Stratus is like, look, we're under attack. You guys hold them off. I'm gonna go see if I can't fix the force field generator. And I love it. They already go into like, all right, let's go and defend, Avion before Skeletor really gets in deep. And it's just a fun little action sequence here that they can hold their own. And as we see Stratus shows up and hands over, sees someone deliberately smashed it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, they clearly took an anvil and just dropped it on there.
Yeah, it's messed up pretty bad. And now
Yeah,
this is when we get to the part where they start to use various tactics to try and
yeah,
take him out. So we have these two that are going to try to drape over Beastman. It lands on him, but he's like, ah,
yeah. It just tears it
shrugs it
right off.
away.
Which someone a war sled who's not very good with it, yeah, having a tarp drop down on you when you can't see. I mean, that thing could just take a quick nosedive into a rock. So it's a testament how quick Beastman is to respond. Like he's not just brute. Like no, he's like, wow, we're not doing this. And then I thought these guys were awesome because they have what appears to be rifles, laser or rifles or something like that, but they fire smoke bombs or smoke screens is what they call it, just to completely barricade the oncoming assault. Like if
Yep.
you really want to try and get through there, you ain't going to make it, without coughing your brains out and probably crash into something because you can't see.
Yeah, and Triclops and Trapjaw go through there. We hear them coughing. They meet up with
Yeah.
Skeletor. Skeletor's like, well, hey, what happened?
Yeah, and it's like you guys should have acted faster. They got something I want. Of course, I love at this point you don't know what Skeletor's after. All he
Yep.
says is like, "They've got something I want," and now, but we'll be back. And so they all just take off, and Stratus is quickly just trying to repair this thing, and of course, uh, Hawk shows up to accuse him. So you're the one that screwed up everything. You're the one that wrecked our defenses, to be exact quote. And then he pretty much holds a rally to accuse him, like he's the one that betrayed us. He's the reason that Skeletor almost won today. And everyone rallies behind her, which leads me to believe in watching this is that she clearly at this point had to been someone who was very well respected in the ranks, for everyone to just assume that she knows what she's talking, like I saw it, you know
Do
all
you
she see.
think? Do you think maybe she could use the case against Stratos too? and building up to this moment that yes, Stratos is supposed to be our leader, and yet he's always off on these other adventures with He-Man, whatever they may be. And just kind of like stirring the pot with everyone else there. It's like, you know what? Yeah, he hasn't been present lately.
That would make a great addition to her accusations. Like, if he was here a lot more, our defenses wouldn't be faced with these complications and these issues. They wouldn't be down like today.
Mm-hmm.
He was here being more hands on. Really build up like that. That's an excellent point, dude. Like to say, like, he's more about helping He-Man and the Palace of Eternia than helping his own kingdom. His own people are constantly, they're under, not gonna say a frequent attack, but you know what? They're vulnerable. They're more vulnerable when he's not here.
Yeah.
And Stratus like takes it like a man. He's like, people
Yeah.
like, don't be so hasty. Let's.
Yeah. And right here, he just stands there and just takes it all in, listens
Yeah.
to everything that goes against him. But then he tries to speak up, and here we see finally the egg.
And he lets them know, like, look, people, if you can't banish me, that's the cruelest punishment you can imagine. If I'm gone from Avion, away from the egg, like I won't be able to fly anymore. And Hawk says, that's what you deserve for betraying us. And everyone's like, yeah, 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 we don't
Yeah,
want
yeah,
him
yeah.
here.
I don't know. That
And
bearded guy right there looks a little sad about it.
I just look at all of it. I just thought like there's a blonde haired girl and very other guy, like the girl in the that looks like there's a girl in the back with like black curly hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cool to see just many variations within this one group shot here to just help really show extra details that it's a kingdom of variety and things like that. And it'd be done today, they'd probably be having even more diversity.
Yeah.
But it's just a nice shot to show of like um, how vast it is. And he's like, all right, fine, you guys can all fight Skeletor on your own. And he just, if he's not going to argue, I'm not going to fight this, and just realizes all I can do is leave, and I've got to find a way to clear my name. And it ends with Hawk smiling. She likes what she's seeing here, with that great bit of music that plays when she smiles, like he's gone.
Then we get
And
a commercial break.
yeah, and then this nice kind of following segment here of Stratus just talking to himself and just talking about, I've done so much to protect Avion. It's like it's just heartbreaking. Like they would just throw me out just like that, and decided I'm flying for hours. Again, another testament. Like he can just fly for long periods of time and still maintain that strength. So start breaking this down a little bit more. It definitely is probably in terms of
Time based opposed to
time
distance.
based, and definitely
Yeah.
not because I was distance that would never work.
Right.
And then he lands to take a bit of a break and realize he's landed in the nest of a Kurok, which is the mother row from Valley of Power, but to me will always be the Kurok. I just like this depiction of this particular creature that Filmation came up with that they reused for this episode.
I do too, and this creature is going to work out excellently as
Oh
we
yeah,
get into the later
I,
parts of the
I
episode.
I loved it a lot too. Like as a kid, you're like, oh shit, man. It's just like, oh man, like Stratus is under attack, and they see and Adam and Orca are out there, kind of gathering some stuff. Probably various items, out in the wild, probably fruit and vegetables and things like that.
Which I enjoy the fact that we're about 5.5 minutes into this episode, so we're a quarter of the way in. We're just now getting to Adam.
Yeah, yeah, they really do a great job of like emphasizing this is Stratos' story. And I always liked that. I never felt like when they make changes like this, it never felt like you're being shortchanged because He-Man will show up eventually. But it really, David does a great job of setting this up like this. This is a He-Man cartoon, but it's a Stratos story, and I like that change up. And they see that Stratos is under attack, and like we got to
And
help him.
once Adam sees that, as you said, we got to help him. We get
Yeah.
transformation sequence. We have the power, and then here
And
we go.
this is one of my favorite like moments of transformation. Like he just sees like one of his closest buddies like is in trouble. Like that no hesitation. We got to help him.
Yep.
And gets in the Wind Raider, and they go up there to help buy off the Karok, and leaps out of the Wind Raider and just shoves the Karok back in midair with nothing bracing him up, and just is willing to just take the drop, and Stratos catches them, is thrilled and surprised to see him there, and Stratus tells him like he's not evil. I fell, I stopped in his nest by accident. He's just being territorial. And He-Man immediately, I love this too. It was like, Orko, do you know the old saying, honey works better than vinegar? He's like, well, where's the honey? Up there. And I thought as a kid that was honey, but just in ball form. Like I thought literally, not really thinking like it's fruit. Let me throw some fruit at this bird and maybe he'll calm down. And taking several big gulps of that Eternian
Swallows it
fruit,
whole, like
swallows it whole,
right.
and
You see it, animation right down the
yeah,
throat into the
do,
stomach.
doesn't even take time to enjoy it or chew it up. He loves it. And that shot when licks its lips and then smiles at He-Man, and He-Man says, "I think we made a friend for life." I just like that moment of saying that this bird is not just a throwaway. That it will
Yeah.
have much more of a. That's why I like the Karok depiction so much more. Even though the Mother Row is fine too. That I like that, but this I just feel like there's more of a connection with He-Man and the bird in this. And this is one of my favorite character moments of He-Man and Orko as well. And they're asking, what's going on, and Stratus says, I've been exiled from Avion. I'm like, what in the world would you? Why would that happen to you? And tells him what happened, that Skeletor attacked the city, and he was blamed, for sabotage. And the only way he can, way things can get any better is if he finds the real culprit who really was responsible, and restore his good name. And I love this. The Stratus says, "Everyone's against me. I'm alone." And this is one of the best He-Man moments. He says, "No, you're not. I'm with you, Stratus." Like this is immediately He-Man's just stopping everything. I'm going to help a friend. This is all this is about. And I just love that leadership, that camaraderie, and what makes He-Man such a definitive alpha male is like it's just I'm going to drop everything. Whatever they were doing. It's now we got to help Stratos out. And I just love that without hesitation. Let's take care of business. Let's get you back home, buddy. And then we come back to Avion.
Skeletor and crew have returned, much like
Yep.
Skeletor said,
And
and
they're
they're
just
here.
hovering. They're just hovering, waiting for Skeletor to like, all right, let's do this. And all right, they say they're coming, and now the smoke screen guns are not working. The force field's not working. Everything's done. And Skeletor laughs and says, "Nothing can stop me now." And
This
he
is an interesting perspective right here.
yeah, I always thought
I,
so
I like
too.
it a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
I
too.
think it kind of really gives you the distance too of like how high up this egg is. They could have gone further with this if they wanted to.
Oh, I mean, they really could have in terms of scale,
Yeah,
even make it smaller. But I think it's a great epic shot of Skeletor as the one to use like a
remove the
tractor
egg.
beam to remove the egg, and says, and I think I remember James saying this, and I just have to address it because I had to sit in silence. I think it was in the commentary he did on this episode or something, but he says when Skeletor says, "Soon we'll all have wings," and James goes, "It's like, does he really think they're gonna have wings or something?" I said, "No, it's just an expression, James. He's just saying they'll be able to fly. He's not literally meaning they're gonna sprout wings." But I just remember hearing it when he said that. I can't remember where it was at, but I just was like, James
This guy, he
is
doesn't
it
know nothing.
so what? He's written a couple of books. He's got to work on DVDs multiple times. What does he know?
Yeah,
You know.
he's
But
gotten to hang out and go to Filmation and look
yeah,
at all
hanging out with
these.
Larry Houston and Robbie London and Frank Welker and Victoria Silvstedt, Playmate of the
I was gonna
Year.
do that. For yourself, that Playmate of the Year.
Yeah. Just keep going down the list of all these celebrities he's just hung out at their house, and they just like, hey, you want some collectibles I don't want anymore? They're free. You
How's the
know?
line go? Wake up, bitch! You're my new best friend.
Yeah, yeah. He pulls them out in his onesie pajamas and like,
Basketball reference for those of you
yeah,
wondering.
yeah, people don't know what we're talking about. But after the attack is over, Stratus and He-Man Orca show up and see the egg's gone. Skeletor's obviously taking it. And it's like, we got to go to Snake Mountain. And I again, another great line of dialogue is He-Man saying, like, I bet Skeletor's hidden the egg, and he'll keep it hidden until the bird people have lost the ability to fly,
Mm-hmm.
because he's the Lord of Destruction. Like, I just even without using, I could see him like, let's just hide it so they'll never know. And obviously, and it's like, there's only one place we can figure out where he's hiding it, and that's the Sorceress. Let's go to Castle Grayskull. Great act break there too,
Yeah.
when he says, to Castle Grayskull, and goes, "Hey man,"
Could you
it's just
imagine
great.
being a kid? You're watching that on TV, and like I don't know, you either need to go get your breakfast or go to the
Yeah.
bathroom or something. You gotta hurry up and get back so you can
Oh
see
man, yeah.
what the
This is
sorceress has to say.
going down, man, and just a great act two of the sorceress. Like I've disturbed, I've recognized that there was a disturbance at Avion, and is quite confident that the egg has been hidden in the demon zone by Skeletor, and it's being guarded, which by I'm getting all too excited here, is that it's being guarded by Skeletor's ally Whiplash. You talk about losing my mind when I heard that, and it just elevates Whiplash's status because he's introduced in to save Skeletor, but this was my first time seeing him in any episodes. This was my introduction to him. I think even James says this episode comes off as my introduction for Whiplash,
Hmm.
then to save Skeletor. So to see that he's introduced is giving the task of guarding the egg, but not at Snake Mountain, in this place called the Demon Zone.
Yeah.
Like that just makes Whiplash's presence as on the as a member of the Evil Wars. I don't know, just it elevates his status, I think, in my mind because of this episode. That he is not just a hired muscle. He's clearly someone who's like he's a very formidable foe, but also
Hmm.
capable of Skeletor's like, I need you to guard this for me, you know.
And also too, the demon zone. It's said that you can't let anything escape from this place
And it, as we'll find out a little later on, the place only can open or has the access or the power to open twice a year, which
twice a
makes
year.
me think maybe that's something that maybe Zodak, being someone who has to keep balance on this planet, it may have been something that, because the demon zone itself is we'll get into, and we have this great panning shot of like this massive uh door in this the mountains of doom is where this is located at, quite fitting. And it's just this barricaded door on the ground that
Hmm.
looks like yeah, only He-Man could open this thing up from the outside, and it looks like it's like a gateway to hell, like it's going underground. And
I will
um
say I am slightly disappointed that the entrance to this place is just something that's this door right here. I would have preferred, um, honestly, because I need to jump back into it, but I've been playing the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remaster, and the gates to Oblivion, maybe something like that would have been pretty
mhm.
awesome to see. I'll dig up a visual representation for that so you can see what it looks like. But
Yeah,
I slightly disappointed seeing that it's just this for something called the Demon Zone. You know?
I get that, and I think James even had said too, not about the interest, but the demon zone itself. And I'm sure that's probably not what David Weiss had in mind. I would assume, because when we get a little, and here in a few moments, when we're going to be introduced to a new character,
Yeah.
you're clearly led to believe that this place is the
So
demon zone
and with
because of that.
it being season two and the eyes of the parents really
Yeah,
being on this and changing things, this was probably some sort of sacrifice that they had to make and change it to this, I'm sure.
yeah, because I feel like given what we got and a character that's going to show up here in a bit that was left such an impression on me as a child, I'm like, you know what? I'll take that if we have to sacrifice the interior of the demon zone. Or He-Man even says later on, I haven't seen any demons, but that He-Man is like, how are we going to get in here? And he just takes apart a dead tree. I'm assuming the dead tree, because He-Man has said he will not harm trees. But I just got the idea that this is an old, torn, tattered tree. It's dead anyway. So something he can either just pick up and just brace it open long
Yeah,
enough for them
He-Man's
to
like,
get in
well,
there.
you know what, whatever, it's dead
Yeah.
anyway, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be my assumption with that is He-Man Stratus can get in there, but not before it closes before Orko can get in there and just run smack right into it. Turns into a bit of a pancake.
They did a
And
good job here too, audio wise. When He-Man's telling
yeah,
Orko to stay up there, you can hear the distance on it. So
yeah,
that was a nice touch.
that was a nice touch. And Stratus says like, no, wait, He-Man, you can't open it. We can't. Remember what the sorcerer said. We can't let release any of the
Can't
demons.
leave
And
anything out. Yeah.
so just tells Orca, just hang tight. we'll
And
be back
Orko's like,
later.
I guess I'll just guard the Wind Raider or
He's like,
something.
oh, just guard the Wind Raider or something. It's a nice little bit of I love that dialogue that Lou Scheimer said because it sounds so sincere. Like, oh, this is gonna be so boring, you know.
Yeah.
But and then here we are, man.
Yeah. I haven't
This
seen any demons yet.
no, not yet. And here we are, Crawl, King of Demons,
It
man.
looks awesome.
And beautifully voiced by Alan Oppenheimer. I
Yeah.
like this character so much. I put him in a Kevin Sharp illustration that he did for me. Like I wanted like Crawl to be represented, so he put that in there for me. I was like, this is a character I just wish we got to see much more of. And
This would be awesome to be like 3D sculpted out and painted, and like it would be cool if someone on Etsy like made something like this and made it available.
I couldn't agree more. And it's the face of Damar the Demon repurposed, of course, which I would not know that till years later, thanks to the Reverend. But and that this kind of like threw me for a bit because when I knew Whiplash to be an ally of Skeletor, and they say it, he's an ally of Skeletor, but then here he is, taking orders from Crawl, which I was kind of bummed to not see him with Skeletor. I was like,
Mhm.
you're one of Skeletor's, and I would go through this a couple times on this particular tape as well. Um, but as an adult, I appreciate so much more that he's not just there taking orders from Skeletor. He resides someplace, which kind of makes you wonder that um, is this place, a place that Whiplash dwells in regularly, or is this a place that
They
Skeletor has connections where
sent
he's like
maybe Skeletor sent him there
pin
to.
him there? Like, look, he knows Crawl. Maybe they've made pacts together.
Mhm.
They or various other things. Like, there's got to be a connection there. But then Crawl says, "You guard the egg of Avion for Skeletor, do you not?" Um, and maybe that's just kind of a way to kind of bring everyone up to speed or something like that. But it does make you wonder, like, is it because Whiplash, this is where he resides? He has a deal with Crawl to, I don't know, just to kind of be a guardian to this place. Does he, even though Whiplash, we'll never see him here again, but it just kind of gives you a little bit more of extra depth to the character. Like, why if he works for Skeletor, but here he is in this place that only can open its doors twice a year, and it's called the Demon Zone. It houses demons, even though we don't unfortunately get to see any. But you're clearly looking at someone who looks like the devil himself,
Yeah,
you know. And what is the connection with him and Skeletor? Do they, And just look at that, man. The music that plays during his introduction and Alan's just beautifully evil interpretation of what this character should sound like fits that devil look, man. It's definitely one.
I could see parents getting really upset about this.
Yeah, and you think like, okay, there's no demons in that, and maybe that's just what they felt. It's a floating head. He's only on screen for a few seconds,
True.
twice, two times in the episode, and that is it. Because you will not see any demons in it. And I like this too. That when Crawl, warns Whiplash that He-Man and Stratus are inside the demons and looking for the egg, and Whiplash relishes the idea, like, oh, I get to take them on,
Mhm.
and it also lets him know that hey, Orko's outside as well, and the shot of Orko just with his hands behind his back, just floating, just kind of
Yeah, unassuming.
yeah,
Like,
just sitting there waiting patiently around the Wind Raider for them to come back. And John Irwin's voice as Whiplash is so beautifully evil as well. Like I think this is the most serious the character will ever be portrayed. Like he's not bad in a lot of other episodes, but this is by far his most serious depiction in the series. Is and when he stands up after Crawl telling you, like, look, be careful. We only have the power to open the doors to above us twice each year. If you do that, you better have a good reason.
yeah,
And the confidence when Whiplash stands up and says, taking care of those pests is good enough reason for me. Like he's so confident that he can take out He-Man and Stratos. Like I just love that. That's how you want to introduce a new villain into the series. Like he is confident he's going to be able to take care of him, and I'm gonna have my massive snake just take care
yeah,
of Orko. Like it's
yeah.
great, dude. Great introduction to the character.
But I was gonna say, I guess it's does it only count then if Whiplash goes up there? Because obviously the snake goes up there. So does that technically count or no?
So that's the thing is that Whiplash is telling them like, or has been told, if you're gonna open the doors, you better have a good reason. And in his mind, yeah, taking care
So
of
so this
Orko,
is going to count towards it.
it's going
All
to
right.
count. Yeah, yeah,
I
because
didn't
that's
know
what
if
he.
maybe there's like a little but I guess that yeah, it's like the demon going on. So yeah, it would count.
Yeah, and it's like the logic behind that. We're never given that, but it's fun to think that maybe
Yeah,
Zodiac
it's
has
it's a
something to
cool
do with
idea
this.
to think about why only twice a year, and like you
Yeah,
said, that maybe this is a Zodiac thing of
yeah,
to
because
create
his
the
narrative,
balance.
yeah, it's all about that balance. And if this place houses, we have met, the spirit of evil in the Wizard of Stone Mountain, which that they wanted to do pretty much the devil. They had to change it to a ball of fire,
Hmm.
but not to say that there couldn't be multiple, leaders of hell, or what would be kind of a version of that.
Yeah,
But this is a world that this just it takes great pride in being filled up with, it is infested with evil. A lot of good stuff, but it's just there's just evil all over this planet. And why wouldn't there be a place that just houses demons? And we don't know what kind, we'll never know, but it would be fun to explore.
Orko was like, "All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a nap."
Yeah. It's like this is dull. I'll just lay down over here, and boom, here we go. That massive Eternian anaconda comes out and it knows what it's after, and it just gives chase to Orko, and that's like what we see is like the one time we see Orko without his hat on, and it happens quickly in the shot, but you see him with the hat missing. It looks like the action figure, the vintage action figure, is like floating in air. Even though, yeah, he was actually, illustrated, but that's your kind of a one time of seeing him without his hat on. But He-Man and Stratus are greeted by some statues that breathe fire, and He-Man
Yeah,
quickly
this is when
disposes
the
that.
line is said. I haven't seen any demons.
Yeah, and says I spoke too soon, and he just disarms that quite quickly with his
Cool shot
uh
right here too.
oh yeah, they cool looking statues.
Yeah.
And uh they jump down to the next level, and this is when Stratus starts to realize, like, oh man, like I'm losing it, dude. We've got to find this egg. And he was like, all right, let's not stop, let's just keep going. And I yeah, like, Orcos just cannot get away from this massive snake that's just ready to do him in. Boy, as a kid watching this right here, he goes in the log, the snake goes in, closes it up with rocks, and starts laughing to himself, like, I got it right there. And like,
And then the snake
come
pops
on,
out of
man.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
just
this is a fun little moment for Orko too. I really enjoyed this little bit where
yeah.
he's trying to trick the snake and he's giving chase. He blocks both the ends, like you said, and then of course he didn't get them all.
No, and it's like, oh no, man. And I felt bad for Orko as a kid watching that. I was like, I hate snakes, and yeah.
Who are you, Indianapolis Jones?
No, very much so. And here we are with He-Man's
Yeah.
confrontation with and Whiplash, just says, He-Man, you come to pay me a visit, and just laughs like he's so cocky and arrogant. And He-Man says, I'm here to return the egg of Avion to its rightful owners. And Whiplash goes right into action. Like, you
Yeah.
won't get it.
Whips the tail around right here into this rock pillar, smashes it towards Stratos and He-Man.
Yeah. And they go into action, and Stratus, he's like, I'm not playing around. Like, let's take him down, He-Man. And Whiplash holds his own here. He just throws Stratos off like he's nothing, which, that's how you want to, get the character over. And He-Man's like, I'll take care of this. That's a cool shot right there.
Yeah.
And of course, this won't be the first time He-Man grabs a hold of that tail and turns it against him. And he's like, all right, that'll take care of that.
He
So,
takes one of the bars from that prison door
Yor,
and
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 just
just
bends,
rips it out,
attaches it,
bends it. Yeah.
and it just ties it around that stalactite or stalagmite, whichever one it is, you know,
Whatever it is.
whatever. And Orko's in danger here, and just screaming at that snake to let him go. And fortunately, his screams did not go unnoticed. Here comes the
Yeah.
mighty Karak. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just picks that snake up immediately, and just,
It drops it from seems like a pretty good distance over
yeah,
over like this
this
canyon
river, and
that
the
has a
can yeah,
river. You're just like,
which he,
well,
the
they make a
Karak
point.
is not too cruel. Like, he's like, I'll at least throw it in the water.
And of course, even with the distance and it landing in there, logically you would presume the snake to be dead, but of course the snake's head rises from the water
Yeah.
so that you know that it's alive.
Yep. And Orko thanks the Karak, and it starts, clearly begging, like, I want a snack, I want a treat. And
Yeah.
Orko knows exactly what he wants, so throws the fruit up to him.
I saved your life. Treat,
Yeah.
please.
Treat, please. Yeah, it very much like how relationships are with dogs. You know, they do something particular, they recognize what they've done. Like, all right, treat, yeah, treat, yeah,
Yeah.
and they virtual venture into further into the demon zone, and He-Man asks, what's wrong, Stratus? Like, as a bird man, I've got to think about cages. So, bird in a cage, you get that.
Yeah.
They look over and they see Hawk is in a
Oh,
cage. And you're
wonder
like,
why
well,
she's in there,
it's like, well,
Tyler.
what do you? Yeah, just ask like, what are you doing here? And she goes, I was captured when Skeletor attacked Avion. He's like, what? Why would he want you? And she's like, I don't know. Just let me out. And He-Man puts it together immediately. He's like, admit it, Hawk. You were the one who sabotaged Avion's defenses. You made a deal with him, didn't you? Like, he immediately knows what's going on, and then Stratus like, well, no wonder you were ready to accuse me so quickly. And she sells it. She's like, yep, I'm the one that sold you out and our people for riches. Which kind of makes you wonder, like, obviously she has a prominent role in their kingdom, but did she come up, maybe not having too much? Maybe
Mm.
she felt like she was kind of on that low level of the class in Avion, and maybe the idea of being offered a lot of money, you
Yeah,
know.
that's an interesting aspect to explore because we've seen it not only in cartoons, but you see it in other live action TV shows. You've seen it in film. What what is the reason that people go for that kind of thing? You know, Ted DiBiase always said everybody's got a
Everyone's got a
price.
price.
So, but I don't know. If you put yourself in that situation, I don't think morally I could just take the riches like that and do I don't know.
And that's why I feel like, Skeletor is a master of deception, much like his master Hordak is. Um, and maybe this is something that Skeletor has been spying on for a while. Like, he had to find a weak link with the bird people. Like, he
Yeah,
had to have studied and see, okay, I think this particular individual with of the bird people might be have a weakness that I could easily exploit for supposed riches. Maybe she's struggled. Maybe she's not where she wants to be in terms of ranks. Maybe she craves a lot more than what maybe she's, you know, y- obviously you feel like some of these people, they still have to have some sort of money exchange. Obviously they have to have some sort of value of exchange on the, obviously there is an attorney and things like they mentioned gold piece and various other things. Could be
hmm
no different here on Avion. But he just had to have done his research and realized this. I think I can, this can be my golden egg, if you will, to help me,
it
set
could
this kingdom up.
it could be something as simple as just pure jealousy over Stratos and his leadership role.
It might,
It could just be something. It could simple as that maybe.
I could see that, like, just to see what that conversation may be like, where he's off on some mission, maybe kind of begrudgingly going to do it. Skeletor manages to just kind of stop her, and I would assume she knows who he is before she makes this deal with him, which kind of led you to believe, like, she clearly is either very upset with the way her situation is, maybe she doesn't have as much as she would like to have, and she's willing to give up, like, the lifeline of her own people for what could be a ridiculous amount of money, maybe not that much at all, maybe it's more than she's ever had, but the simple fact that she has got a very broken mindset to think she could pretty much run the well risk. Well, no, that's what she was going to do. She was going to pretty much kill the entire Avion kingdom, because without that egg, they couldn't fly. They'd all be vulnerable to attack, and the kingdom would just fall apart.
Yeah.
All because she wanted, a lot of money or treasure, riches. It's hard to say what Skeletor promised her. Showed her images of what he's got, because I'm quite certain Skeletor does have a. It's never shown, but you kind of led to believe Skeletor's probably got a large bank that he would use to pay off all the evil warriors, all his contacts on Eternia, and promised her something that was probably something she couldn't comprehend. Like, you seriously, all you want is the egg, and you'll give me all this.
That was it. Wasn't that also something that we talked about when we did the arena in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah.
Skeletor and his in order to build all this stuff, like he's got to have money.
And he promises, like, Tataran's army, like they will get, I think 1,000 gold pieces, half in advance and half upon, the victory of eternity. Like, yeah, he'd have to have access to a lot of money to pay for all the equipment, the
Yeah.
technology, and constantly, expanding his band of evil warriors. Like
Yeah.
we get more and more evil warriors as the series goes on. He has to be willing to pay these guys. They don't do it for free. So I could see him easily like just using someone who could be easily manipulated into thinking all she wants is a better quality of life, which means more money.
Yep.
Tell her
But
that,
then
and
also in the back of his mind, it's like, okay, she helps me get the egg, and then I just imprison her. She doesn't get the money. Ha 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 ha
yeah,
ha. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
because
it's
in his mind, like she's just a means to an end. I have no
mhm.
reason to hire her as like my spy or anything like that. It just again, this is what I love about doing this. It helps dive in a little bit deeper to things that I never thought too much about. And the idea that, like, why would she sell her people out? I think
Yeah.
it's quite fascinating to think that she clearly has got a lot of issues, whether it's from
There's some
upbringing,
history there.
some history, and like you said too, she could be quite disgruntled that she values her place higher in that society, and she's not getting that.
Mhm.
But clearly, she's someone people respect and listen to because she sees Stratus do one thing, and she's ready to go and run and tell everybody. So then it kind of makes you feel okay. Well, how disgruntled can you be? The people clearly listen to you. You are obviously your voice is more respected at this point. But then again, too, they've been under attack.
Mhm.
And something as serious as like our force field's not working.
It
You
would
know,
be easier, like, it's just easy then from their mindset to
get
just
everyone worked up, like
well,
oh my
just
god,
to yeah, to place the blame on Stratos because
yeah,
he's the leader
yeah,
of the operation. Yeah.
yeah, and much like you said too, if they had thrown in, you like you're never here, we don't know what you're doing half the time. No wonder Skeletor, you know, saw this as an opportunity to attack. Maybe he's been eyeballing this place, our home for
Who
many
knows how
months.
long? Yeah.
We don't know how long.
And
You
not
know,
just Skeletor, maybe he's sending Triclops out there to
the
do
Triclops could
recon.
easily. I could see Triclops being the one on reconnaissance from a distance, just checking. What do they use for defense? But
Mhm.
then again, too,
Yeah, it
they,
did kind of bite him at the beginning, so
yeah,
obviously they didn't go that far into it. So yeah, a lot of questions along the way of just
yeah.
her her
But I
motive.
could also see Skeletor just maybe this is one of those plans that he's just kind of thinking about on his own, where he's like observing on the hover screen on his table and like,
Yeah,
okay, I think I've got someone I can exploit here, and just goes and confronts her immediately, tells her, "I need you to sabotage the force field generator," and that's all he's concerned about because they could attack anywhere. But obviously, he
it
was
could
not aware
also
that.
it could also be another aspect that we haven't explored that maybe somehow Skeletor got to her in some other random way and blackmailed her. Like I'll harm but X, Y, and Z, or I'll do this or that if you don't do this for me. That could be something too. It could be something as easy as that. Maybe there is no animosity, but she's forced to do it because Skeletor threatened her with some other thing.
Well, if I would go with it if she had said like Skeletor, promised me, riches, and instead of giving me what he
True.
promised, he threw me in here. So that's why I feel
Yeah.
like
Unless
her
she's
her
lying about that too.
he could be, but honestly, that wouldn't make her any better. If she had said, they threatened, my family, he's captured my, my husband or
True.
my mother and father, and if I didn't go through this, he would send them to the demon zone.
Yeah.
So when she says money, that clearly is like, no,
You're right.
you'd have been better off saying, you were being blackmailed because saying you sold out our livelihood for money.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
it's just
I'm glad that we try to break down the psychology of why she's doing what she's
well,
doing here.
yeah. That's how I'm like. I don't know how many people have actually done this one, which I'm pretty proud of what we've done. We've really dived in a lot to Hawk's psyche, probably more than what most people have ever thought of.
Whiplash still hung up, but that doesn't last for too much longer. Whiplash breaks away. It's like, all right.
Now to find that muscle-headed moron, like
Yeah.
he's still determined. Like I'm gonna get him. and of course they're all united. And
Oh
this
man.
bird is not name check, or not bird. This dragon is called Baraka, if
Hmm.
I remember correctly. And I always thought as a kid was quite a vicious looking dragon. This kind of golden
Yeah.
dragon.
Well, I mean, just the shot here. Here's a sleeping dragon. It's like, oh, we're gonna have to go through this now.
It's like and Hawk even says like it's in the next chamber, but it's guarded by one of Whiplash's beats. She says pets, like, beats. And He-Man's response is, "Good grief!" You're like, yeah, it's a pet, all right. It's a dragon, and
Yeah,
it's just ready to go in full on attack mode here. And
and it
man,
does.
it does. Like, you two
And
distract it, and I'll
this
grab
is
the egg.
great too. Blowing out some flames, He-Man bats it away with the sword.
I love that too. The way that angle, that animation of him blocking and sends the flame reflecting back, enough to like blind the dragon for a moment while he goes and grabs the egg. And Whiplash is right there, to just halt them right there in their tracks. Like, he's still confident. I love this. This is just, you know, his speech of like, you think you've won, don't you? Like, well, you've lost, because if Skeletor can have it, neither can Avion. And this missile was made strictly to destroy that egg.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
gonna hone in and destroy it. And I got He-Man carrying the egg on one shoulder,
as Alpha
grabs
is,
this
yeah.
rocket with it. I'm like, holy shit, man! Like,
I mean, he just one ups you right there, just like, yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
throws it back, and
And
then
says, so much for your missile, Whiplash, and
yep,
just
and hits above him, crumbles the rocks below, so Whiplash has no further access to these guys.
And Whiplash is like pissed. He's like, all right, that does it. I'm gonna just get out of here. And Crawl's like, no, let him go. And he's like, why? Because, you fool, don't you see? They have to break out. If they do that, the doors are permanently severed. We can spread our evil to the world above. Let them go.
Yep.
Like, I love it. It just makes you think like what Crawl's ultimate scheme is. Like, if he were to unleash everything on
Mm-hmm.
Eternia that's down there that we don't know, even Skeletor would be, I think, much like Evil Seed, like, just as much a victim as everybody else, dude.
And also, too, I would assume that once they're all out, he would also be able to come out, and I would just picture him in full body form there on Eternia.
Uh what a kick-ass visual that would be, man.
Yeah,
Like, to see that, but I could also see him as just nothing more than a floating head in the sky.
true.
Is just like this demon form that doesn't take on physical form at all.
I'll ask you this. Let's say hypothetically the ending of this episode doesn't pan out the way that it does. The gates are open. Hell is unleashed. He also gets out of there. Do you see this as a scenario where Skeletor and He-Man inevitably have to team up to put him back? Put the genie back in the bottle?
I
Or
could
no?
s- Well, you know what? That was my first answer, but no, because just based on what we've talked about already, Skeletor has made arrangements to keep his egg in Crawl's domain.
True.
So obviously, he has to be, somewhat of an alliance with Skeletor. Given that these guys have always got their own agendas, you kind of feel like they have to work together at times. Or I could see Skeletor saying, you know what? If he had the means, he probably would unlock the demon zone too,
Mhm.
bring more chaos to this planet. Whereas, like, if He-Man, all the heroic warriors are busy fighting on the demons, that leaves Castle Grayskull vulnerable to attack.
True.
So I could totally see Skeletor like, you know what? If I,
He's definitely gonna pony up to him for sure. But
oh,
I could
absolutely.
in any other scenario, probably 10 times out of 10, Skeletor is already scheming while he's ponying up to him. It's like, yeah, we have an agreement, but now he's gonna have that turnaround moment where he's talking to himself and scheming some more. But don't think that that would happen. Period. You don't think it would reach a point where he's like, I might need He-Man.
Only if Crawl was because if the end game plan is like, at some point Crawl would like, look, I have given you valuable information, and things like that, or I have, given you secrets on this planet that you were not aware of. At some point, I'm gonna need you to help break open this door permanently, so that way I can unleash what I am responsible for down here. I want to bring hell to Eternia, which would probably just sound wonderful to Skeletor. I mean,
Mhm.
even if it's not so much, um, because I could easily see him not being bothered by that, because as far as he's concerned, he's had an alliance with this demon for who knows how long. We don't know how long their arrangement is. Um, Thinking that if he wants to break through, or if he all he needs me to do is help him break out, that's not going to harm me. It just creates more chaos. I am the Lord of Destruction. Why wouldn't
Yeah,
I want more of that here?
yeah.
But then you also don't know what Crawl's end game is too. If he's like, I can play ball with this guy. Let him think he's calling the shots. Let him think he's going to take over Grayskull in this planet. Let him think whatever he wants. I am the king of the demon zone. You know,
And then Hordak wants to swoop in and try to take anything he can if everything
Yeah.
starts to crumble
Horak
around.
was to start invade. Like, you know, um, kind of makes you think too, man. Like, you know, uh, maybe Crawl thinks that he's clearly more powerful. We don't know the extent of his power though. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah, no, and it's kind of an awesome thing to think about. Like, how far does his power go?
Yeah, and just being as a talking head in this episode kind of leads you to believe that we don't know if he's maybe if the demon zone were open permanently, he would have more. His power might be enhanced because it might be under restriction in the demon
That's what I'm
zone.
saying. If he's in the demon zone, I think it sort of uh, lowers him down. That's I look at it as like that's the reason why he's a floating head is because that's what he's been reduced down to. Now, if he was able
Yeah,
to break out of the cage, much like the things are in the demon zone, that in my mind, I'm like, if he got out, that's why I could see that as the other demons are starting to lay waste to the land. There we go. Say that 5 times
yeah,
fast. That it's much like Freddy Krueger
yes,
in the sense that it builds him up. That's why I could see him like gradually just becoming full body, like he looks like Satan himself,
or
kind of thing.
like Vigo and Ghostbusters too. He's just a floating head, and eventually he
Yeah,
takes on a physical form.
yeah, yeah, exactly, something like that. But He Man here looks bad. He looks awesome, just holding
He
that
does
egg right there.
just so confident, so alpha right there. He is the apex male there, just like let's get this back to where it belongs. And of course they look up there and realize we can't get out without breaking the door being damaged. And I
Mhm.
love He-Man's response. They see the Baraka behind us, like we have no choice,
Mhm.
and just grits his teeth and just leaps up and just bashes the door open. And Orko's there to greet him. He's like, "You made us." Like, yeah, with trouble right behind us. And then boom, here comes Baraka right out. And the Karok goes right after him. And He-Man's like, I think if our friend can force that dragon back down the hole, I think I could reseal it. And sure enough, Karok comes through in the clutch, and He-Man just bashes the hell out of the Mountain of Doom and just causes this avalanche just to cover it up, man.
There's a big hole right there. I'm gonna nitpick a little bit. There's a big
Okay.
hole right here. All these rocks, a good chunk of these would just fall through the hole.
Well, I guess we don't know the extent of how big the avalanche was. Like, I imagine that
True.
avalanche had to been several, like maybe 20 to 30 feet deep.
Yeah.
Like, he is just demolishing this mountain and just letting essentially part of one or all a good chunk of one just collapse to fill that hole up.
What
You
is
know,
cooler, smashing the rocks causing the avalanche, or if he went by hand and grabbed the pieces and like put them back together? Probably the avalanche.
the avalanche, because
Okay.
it's like it's done in haste. Is like I've got an idea, but I mean, yeah, just with his his knuckles just swinging back and forth and just breaking in this mountain to cause this avalanche that.
I guess it's just in watching it in the way that it played out, it didn't seem like it was that deep. But yeah, let's go with the fact that it's going to be a bunch of rocks and it's really going to fill the hole up.
Oh, that's just it's just something we can't see it, but this is like
Yeah,
it's so heavy. It's just like there's rocks coming out of the hole.
yeah.
So yeah, if Crawl and Whiplash and others want to take the time to dig and eventually Whiplash is going to find his way out, because he'll be back at Snake Mountain for the foreseeable future. So either Skeletor just snapped his fingers and brought him out,
Mm,
and pretty much just gave Crawl the middle finger.
that's probably the likely scenario, I would say.
Yeah, because like you work for me, not him. So, you're more valuable to me on Snake Mountain than you are here. So leaves Crawl, the king of demons, stuck down there for, well, we don't know how long now. But as we conclude, they get it back to Avion, and Hawk confronts the bird people and lets everyone know she's the one that accused Stratus of sabotage, but she's the one that betrayed them. And they're like, "Ah, we're gonna get her out of here."
Yeah.
And Stratus comes to her aid. I like this. The good Stratus. I was like, "No, banishment's too cruel for any bird person." And then He-Man again has another great moment and says, "Hawk's seen the error of her ways. She helped save the egg." And Stratus says, "She'll be placed on punishment detail until she's earned your trust again." And then, they look up and say, "Our precious egg has been returned, and with it, we have a new friend and protector in the Karok," which
Which
is a
is
great,
awesome.
great shot of it dropping on its placement holder, and then swoops up and calls into the air. And Stratus says, "Let's give a thanks to our best friend He-Man." And like, God, yeah, and Orca's there to like cheer him on, and He-Man just smiles. It's a great ending shot. And this is one of the coolest morals of the series too. Like when He-Man talks about giving people a second chance, just John Irwin's delivery. It sounds so sincere and so honest. Like, yeah, we all make mistakes, and it's nice to have a friend who's willing to give us a second chance. It's wonderful. Even though Hawks, we start breaking it down, is pretty bad. You know,
So I guess we got to ask here: does she really deserve the second chance?
I think if He-Man hadn't, even He-Man tells Stress in the Demon Zone, he says, "Let's get you free." He's like, "Wait, after what she just committed?" Like, everyone deserves a second chance, Stratos. And besides, right now we need help. You know, so he justifies it, and I think it's going to take a very long time. The fact that they got the egg back, they got her out, she cleared his name. This is going to be the beginning of a very long journey of being looked down upon by everybody in
Yeah,
there, even Stratos, because Stratos is like, even though she's made amends, it's going to take him a long time to trust her as well. Like, I'm sure he'll be the first one to give her opportunities, but we don't know what punishment detail consists of. I don't.
that that's true.
Yeah. So obviously, she's going to serve her time, and it's not like she can just kind of come and go as she pleases. I imagine she probably will be restrained from going out and about. Someone else will take up her duties, and she'll have to start from the very beginning and have to take all the heat from every man and woman on Avion, looking down at her, wanting to spit at her, like, You could have risked killing us all for
Yeah,
money."
yeah,
Wait, there was a blip
yeah.
there. I couldn't hear.
I saw that on your end too. But yeah,
Okay.
all of that for money, and it's just
Yeah. It makes her look like she would be the low on the lowest level. Like, she is the slime of that kingdom. Like, and she may never get redeemed. We don't know.
yeah. I
And
guess. Well, that's the thing too. It's like, yeah, we've given you a second chance, but also your reputation's damaged now, and now, yeah, as you said, she could spend the rest of her life always just being looked at in their history of she almost cost us everything.
it would be interesting to see, like, many years down the road, like, she's aged, and you see her in a very, like, respected role, like, down the road, like, you easy to envision that she has taken a lot of punishment, a lot of verbal punishment from everybody. Kids grew up knowing, like, this lady sold us out, like, could have killed us all for money, and she had to take that, had to take the kids looking down upon her, everybody, and and then the reputation spreads that, we lost our egg, one of our own sold us out, so everyone in the surrounding areas, the palace, all the heroic warriors, all the other kingdoms, Buzz off and his people, all these people being aware that, Avion almost got, uh, destroyed because one person sold them out.
Yeah.
That reputation will follow that woman around for decades to come.
Yeah.
And to envision where she could be at in 30 to 40 years after this event, and that she could have gotten like the most solidified heart because she took the biggest heartbreak and took decades for people to even call her by name and even ask her how she's doing. Like that woman's gonna have to go through that all by herself. I can see Stratos checking in on her with it from time to time, of course, but that's something that, you know, and maybe even He-Man would come to her time to time and just talk with her to make sure her mind's in the right place. That,
Yeah.
yeah, your mind's really screwed up right now for what you just did, but I could see He-Man being one who would take time every so often to help rehabilitate her mindset to kind of build her back up. Yeah,
And not only that, maybe He-Man could help rehabilitate her reputation amongst everyone else. Because
yeah,
I would think He-Man's opinions on things throughout Eternia probably carries a decent weight amongst common folk of the
yeah,
different
everybody,
races.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
especially with the bird people, and I, even though he says like, look, she's seen the error of her ways, she helped save the egg, so he's getting her over immediately, but still, it's going to take a long time, and I'd like to think that he would come visit her from time to time, talk with her, let her vent, let her cry, and assure her that you know what, you are going to get through this. Like, I'm going to make sure that people are aware you're trying to do better.
Yeah.
You are accepting and embracing a very devastating mistake. But when this is all said and done, you will be respected again.
I was just
You know.
chuckling a little bit because I imagine her with He-Man visiting so much that she like starts to get the feels for him a little bit.
Well, I mean, look at the guy. Like,
Who
he's like,
doesn't?
yeah, like, what woman, like he's He Man. He's the ultimate male. Like, yeah, I imagine too. Like, she's like, she'd be like Ripley in Alien 3. Like, you attractive? He's like, what's that? I've been down here in this dungeon an awfully long time. It gets kind of lonely. He's like, well, if I must, then I must. You know,
Yeah, it could be something
let me
like that.
let me unleash the power of Grayskull here.
Well, let's get into our personal ratings for Betrayal of Stratos. So, Tyler, out of 10, what do you give this episode?
I'm sorry to say, I give it about a 9.5. I love
Okay.
Betrayal of Stratos. Like, I won't say it's Dragon's Gift, House Chakotay, Disappearing Dragons, but it's a vastly underrated, underappreciated episode. Great depictions of Whiplash, He-Man, and Stratos. Crawl is a great one-shot villain that we just given just a taste of. Love to see, always wanted to see more of him. And Skeletor and the Evil Warriors are depicted very competently, and I just think all around it's cool to see more of the bird people. So
Mhm.
I don't know, well, maybe when people watch this, maybe it makes it gives them a better appreciation. Maybe you want to go back and rewatch this episode. Maybe you never seen it before,
Yeah.
and you'll be like, you know what? Why aren't people talking about this episode?
Maybe. And that's where you guys come in. If you want to leave a comment about that, go ahead and do so and let us know what you would give it out of 10. You can also do that here in our live chat. I'm gonna give it I was thinking maybe 8, but I'm gonna push it to a 9 because I really there's so much going on in this
Yeah,
episode. You get a plethora of villains. You get more about Stratos. Like you said, it's interesting that how that episode started out. That you're spending that first fourth digging into more of the bird people, and we don't see Adam until almost 6 minutes in. So I always appreciate stories like that that aren't just strictly going to focus so much on our main characters.
yeah,
I like to see what the other characters are up to and how they live and what they're doing. So yeah, nine
and
out of 10 for me.
it's fantastic, and it's a good because it does warrant, like, it would have been cool to see other heroic warriors like Fisto gets his own episode. Like, but to see an episode where Ram Man, it's a Ram Man story. Teela's got her own story. Man at Arms has got his own story. But to see any of the other heroic warriors, like Mechanet gets his own story in Search for a Son, but it didn't resonate with me the way that this one does, and that's more like kind of a backstory and then kind of a current thing. But I don't know. I think this is such a well done story of one of the other heroic warriors that's not He-Man based. It's about their issue, and how are they going to resolve this problem that they find themselves in. Um, yeah, there were other episodes like I think uh, uh I'm losing the one where the Tycons are eating all the Buzz Off people's food. Um, God, I forgot what the name of that episode is. Right off the top of my head, it's gonna drive me crazy.
It'll come
But
back to you.
it'll come back to me. But I'm just like it's kind of a Buzz Off centric episode, but um,
Do you want me to look it up?
uh, it's oh God,
Well,
I have an idea.
go on with your thought about
But
all
anyway,
that
it's
stuff.
just like it's an episode like it's not a bad episode, but it's not great either. Something that's kind of more of a Buzz Off centric episode.
Let's see. I'm in fear, disappearing dragons. The good shall survive. Search
The
for a
good shall
son.
survive. The good shall survive.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, that's it too.
Well, we gave our ratings.
Oh
Let-
boy, I can't wait to hear what His Majesty has to say here.
here's what one James E. Tuck. Link down below for Sierra Geek TV if you want to go ahead and subscribe, or if you're already subscribed and listened to his review for this episode and don't want to subscribe to him anymore, you can. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Tyler. You ready for this?
Oh, I'm dying to hear again what he has written.
All right, I just want to make sure that I selected the correct episode that we have here in the book. All right, here we go. David Wise clearly has good intentions with this script, especially on the part of Stratos. However, during the course of Act 2, the episode seems to lose its way. The moment the characters enter the demon zone, the story goes from one that could achieve great character development to the most mundane of action adventure stories the series has ever seen. The fact that Skeletor places the egg of Avion in the demon zone makes little sense and feels like an incredibly forced plot device.
Whatever.
The demon zone itself is full of contradictions that make little sense, especially on the part of Whiplash. At times the script feels as if it were originally 2 episodes haphazardly merged into one. He gives it the old Bret Hart 4 out of 10.
James, who told you could write a book?
There you go.
He
4
could.
4 out of 10. He's gonna have to explain himself on that one.
Yeah, we'll have to put him on trial. But we'll already find him guilty because we already know he's guilty. So
yeah, so it'll be like this episode of Betrayal of Stratos. We're just standing there pointing at him, and they got people in line. It's like, yeah,
I don't want him out of here.
Yeah, 4 out of 10. Yeah. Before we go ahead and bow out, I mentioned earlier that I watched Predator like 5 days ago. But in addition to that, I watched some other movies. Tyler already knows what I watched, but I kind of want to briefly talk about all of that stuff. Predator 2 was also one that I watched. I'm sorry, it's underappreciated. Predator 2 is great. If you haven't watched it in a long time, don't stick with the tired old narrative that it sucks, because it doesn't. The setting's great. Danny Glover's amazing in it. It's just got a really cool cat and mouse story.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, Predator 2 rocks. I watched Bloodsport, which is free. It might be free with ads on YouTube, but I have premium, so no problem. Commando, watched Commando. Sudden Death. Man, I bought the 4K of that on Amazon. It's like $20. Kino Lorber, or whatever that company has put it out. I haven't watched the bonus stuff on it at all, but just popping that in because I haven't watched Sudden Death in a while, and this was a film that Tyler and I have talked about plenty of times in the past that you initially did not like it that much. I'm like, give it another shot. It's pretty good. And then you watched it. I think you bought the poster for it.
Yeah.
At some point,
I was like reborn again with my opinion of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vastly, because it was not the norm. It was not Van Damme doing helicopter kicks and taking on everybody the way he normally would be. It was
Van
You know,
Damme at Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and his
yeah,
kids are there, and he's kind of estranged from his kids, and his wife is like, "All right, yeah, you can take him." He shows up,
fine.
and Powers Booth's the villain, and
Yeah,
he's gonna kidnap the vice president because the vice president's in attendance there. I mean,
he wants money.
it is very much it's very much 90s, but I love every minute of it.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's
And
kind of a bit. I was gonna say, I don't know if you felt this way about it. I feel like it's kind of a slow burn action movie compared to most in
it
the
is because
genre.
it takes a while for because when you're showing Van Damme's backstory, like why he's kind of a fire marshal
Yeah.
with the stadium, and then his relationship with he's divorced, his relationship with his kids, kind of setting the stage about who at the hockey arena. They get introduced to Powers Booth and his crew, how they get in. It
Hmm.
takes a while, and then once it gets going, it's and of course every scene Powers Booth is in, he just steals everything because he just does it so effortlessly. He plays, I dare say, I think I like him. He plays good guys and bad guys just as good, but I probably say I like him better as a villain just because he's not restrained by anything. When he plays a villain, dude, like from Extreme Prejudice to Tombstone,
Yeah.
it's just like there's just nothing that man can't do, man. And he plays villains to a T.
If you want to see him as a great good guy, is it Southern Comfort? Did I get the name of that right?
Southern Comfort, Rapid Fire are two movies where he plays a good guy.
Southern Comfort's really good.
Oh yeah,
If no one's checked that out, that's a good
that's a
that's
good
a
another
really
movie.
that's a fun first watch film of like, where is this gonna go?
Yeah,
Thing. Yeah.
yeah, and just a classic Walter Hill film that another 80s action movie that I'm sure some people are aware of, but I
It's got its fans. I know
yeah,
that, but
yeah, for sure. But
it
boy, it's
definitely flies under the radar.
right on. But boy, when you like, oh man, like yeah, this is a great movie, man. How are they going to get out of this, dude?
Yeah,
Like,
we need to have an appreciation for Powers Booth. We also need to tier list those Van Damme films. A couple of
absolutely.
things. Let's talk about Predator really quick. The first one.
All right, yeah, because I want to do this, but let me take a quick break for a quick before we get into this because we could be here for a while talking about Predator. I don't want to be like, oh my god.
I'll make the Predator conversation pretty quick, but you go do what you need to do.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and say this. Go ahead if you're not subscribed to the Dump Bin. So there's a channel. Sometimes I flip through video game magazines, wrestling magazines, probably put some other stuff. Hopefully, video game streams got to get motivated more to do that. I would like to try to stream some PS5 stuff at some point. But I don't know how well that would go if I was. No, well, the way Tyler's earbuds there. Actually, let's just do that. Let's see, Oblivion remaster I've been playing a little bit, so that would probably be sort of boring maybe to stream for everyone. There's a game, Expedition 33. It's like an RPG that came out that's pretty cool. So maybe that's something I could stream, but I'm also kind of terrible at it because it has a parry system and a dodge system, and I'm better at dodging than parrying on there. What else? I've been playing actually original Doom because the newest, it's like Doom Dark Ages just came out, and I didn't even play Doom Eternal. I played the 2016 game, and so I'm gonna get the Doom anthology on PS5, and I really like playing the original Doom because it's just something. When you say nostalgic about it, like yes and no, but it just plays really really well. So maybe that's something I could do at another point in time. All right, Tyler, since you're back, let's real quick. Predator 1. It's on a very short list of movies that I think are just perfect.
I knew you were gonna say perfect.
It's like that, Die Hard, The Thing. I'm having trouble listing a few more, but it's just a small. You can put it on any time of year and watch it. It's even if you've watched it, if you're watching for the first time, or you've watched it for like the 387th time, like you've done, it just never loses anything. thing to it. Like
No,
it's just perfect. RoboCop is another one that I would also put on that list.
Ghostbusters I'd put on that list. You just doesn't matter what time of year it is, man. It's just that's why Predator's my favorite film of all time. You know, after seeing how bad the franchise got, the first Alien versus Predator, I remember it took me about 6 months to be in the mood to watch
I
Predator
remember that.
again, and
I
I
nowadays I think you're in the mindset if you watch something bad, you're gonna put that on and be like, I need to cleanse my palate now immediately.
I'll never watch Alien versus Predator again.
No, yeah, of
Um,
course.
but it was like I don't want nothing to do with Alien and Predator right now. I was so mad at that movie, and it made me, even though I Predator was one of my favorite films, I was like, when I rewatched it that December, I was like, this is my favorite movie of all time. And I've maintained that ever since. And I have Alien versus Predator to thank for that. It really was. It was like I saw it with completely new eyes when I watched it that Christmas. Of like, I always loved everything about this movie, but there's something about it. It was just like it meant more to me. Um, when I watched it, and it maintains the coolest macho cast, the best score,
Mhm.
the best on-screen villain, um, and just the epitome of machismo with Arnold and Carl Weathers. Like, I just saw them as, just like when I was a kid, like that's what a man should look like. Like, I want to look like that, because those two look so imposing to me as a
Yeah,
child, running through the jungle with their guns and just looking ultimately badass,
yeah,
you know?
and it has the distinction too of being one of those films that I think if you went into it without watching a trailer, you're like, oh, it's going to go this way, and then you just get that misdirection,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah, because
enjoy a lot.
if you see that opening shot of the spaceship dropping something off on Earth, you're like, "What is that?"
Yeah,
And then you don't see anything else about it until
yeah, it
they
would
get to
be
the
easy
jungle.
enough to forget about that part when we get
Yeah.
into the aspect of, oh, we're on this mission, we're doing this.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you were to tell someone like, "I'm not gonna tell you anything about this movie," and then they say, "What is this?" And you're like, "I don't know. You'll have to wait and see." And then by the time they get into the jungle, but then I think it would get brought back, because then you start seeing like, who's looking at them in infrared?
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I
But
don't know. What do you think?
it's a decent chunk of time before you get to that
Yeah,
aspect
I
of
mean,
it.
you're
So,
getting to know their personalities, you're starting to see, okay, something went wrong here in the jungle,
yeah.
and they start to recognize, oh wait, General Hopper, like these are Green Berets out of Fort Bragg. What are they doing here? You
All right,
know,
Tyler could probably just quote the whole movie to us, like start to
I could I,
finish.
I could do a one man show if people really wanted something like that. If they wanted to waste a Friday night with my one man show of Predator,
Yeah. Question here from Papa Huds is going back to I'm assuming it's just DVD box sets as a whole. T Rex, do you have the card art that came with the DVD box sets?
Yeah, I put a lot of them in frames. Like, I got some over here on these little teeny frames, because some of them are really good. Like, one of them Emiliano did. The one that Alex Ross did, like the pencil that eventually become like this big painting that he did. I had the pencil of that one, and then there's a big battle scene I think that came with the third set, volume 3, which was like the first part of season 2. That has like this big battle without He-Man Skeletors, the Evil Warriors versus the Heroic Warriors, and this
Yeah.
big clash. And Lizard Man's featured in it. He's taking on Cobra Khan, and like he's lined up to fight Cobra Khan in that one. So I kept all of them. I think the ones that I didn't care for, I think they got boxed up. But no, I didn't. Even the ones I didn't like, I did not get rid of. I kept them all.
Yeah. Yeah. It
So
would
no,
be kind of
that was a
it would be silly to get rid of the art cards with the box sets. Like I don't want these, and I guess you could trash them.
I
That
mean,
is,
yeah, but to me at that point, I wasn't trashing anything with He-Man's face on it.
oh,
Didn't
I know.
matter what it was. I was like, nah,
I remember.
yeah.
Uh, Comment here from Fedmon. Hawk did get a redemption story in Nightlick's Motu Classics bio.
Holy
So.
shit, really? By God,
uh,
I gotta go dig that shit up and read that.
I mean, I could do it now. No, I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, great.
2000X and Classics changed Hawk to Stratos' sister. How did you feel about that?
Uh, man, I would, I don't know. I It was cool they brought Hawk back, but I was like, I don't think they need to make him That I feel like 2002 and all, everyone was like, we got to make everyone related to each other. Like, for what purpose?
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna do anything to expand that? Or just like you just feel like, who gives them more significance and importance? Like they're just related. Like, are you gonna do anything about that? No, not really.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
well.
it's kinda silly to set that up and not really have much of a follow through. It's just like, "Oh,
No,
well, they're family." It's like,
it's
"What is this?
pointless.
What is this? A Fast and Furious franchise?"
Yeah.
I knew that would get a good eye
So
roll out of
I
you.
just it was unnecessary, but I was thrilled to see her make an appearance. But I if they had you know like I like the idea of Delora. Like in the mini comics, she looks more like a regular person, but her character, I think, in Reign of the Monster, she looks more like she's pretty much the Hawk character, just just different hair color.
Yeah,
So uh so no, I don't, it's completely necessary to make Hawk and Stratus related. I would much rather have seen them, just be people that that work together. And
yeah,
maybe she hasn't, that version, like you wouldn't need to see her sell other people, but I'd like to have seen her as like a very prominent person amongst the bird people, like one of the great warriors, like someone
yeah,
who's very reliable, can hold her own, can take on, evil warriors on her own, whatever. Just
yeah,
just very formidable as a
yeah.
character.
Here's a question from Oliver Belmont. Have you seen actress Camila Mendez in a reinvented Tila costume for the movie? And what are your thoughts?
I try to avoid it because stuff will just pop up randomly, like videos of people. I don't know if they're supporting or they're bitching about. Have you
Yeah,
seen the latest script leak or the latest picture leak of
yeah.
Skeletor or Keldor or Stila? And like, I don't care. I'm not giving you clicks because I don't care. I'm not watching this movie anyway when it comes out. But just what little I've seen of the doofus playing Prince Adam with his lousy costume store wig and a button up pink shirt, I'm like,
It's looking about as much as we
it's
expected to
what you
see.
expect from what everyone
Yeah,
considers He-Man a big joke because they clearly can't crack the code on how to do a good He-Man movie. So let's just take the piss out of it because all we know it's a Skeletor meme and implying that Prince Adam is gay because some goofy guy decided to make that
and
that video a
and
while
it
back.
works because we've said it before. You get if you get the soccer moms in there and all of that, then
And
anyway,
and they're gonna do what Revelation did too. Is they're gonna expect everyone to forget the story and say, "Look, oh look, Mechanex's here, Ram Man's here, this guy's here, that guy's there," and doing nothing but just stand in the background and maybe say their name or say, well, that was a sticky situation. Like just throw away bad dialogue.
it's
It
it's looking about as good as we thought it would. Well,
Yeah.
I'll leave it
So
at that.
so if anyone's ever wondering, no, we're not going to watch it. We're not going to review it.
I might watch it out of more curiosity, but
Dude, man,
that's
oh
about.
God.
I'm a glutton for punishment
Wouldn't
when
you
it
rather
comes to
just
that kind of
look
thing.
at your butthole for an hour and a half?
No, that was only what review did I put that in on Yahoo Movies in
Yeah. I don't know if it was like
2000
Slumber Party Massacre
2003.
2 or something like
Yeah,
that.
it probably was because Slumber Party Massacre 2 out of those movies is definitely the weakest of
Oh
the bunch
God, it was
by
bad,
far.
man.
Interesting question here from Fedbon. Do you think Dutch's form and physique are the main influence for the construction of the T-800's bodies? Do you think the Terminators were originally meant as a way to fight the Predators, and Xenomorphs were to ever invade Earth? Some people say Predator, Terminator, RoboCop, and Aliens are all in one universe but multiple timelines. Because people do these fan theory things and try to
Yeah,
connect the dots, which is kind of cool. But I never really looked at them as like, yeah, this could all be one thing. Now, obviously,
yeah,
of course, with the movies like Alien versus Predator, video games, RoboCop versus Terminator, they would comic books especially they would want to try to cross over these things. So I get why people are like it's all in one thing, but I've always just separated all that
yeah.
stuff.
Outside of Alien and Predator sharing the same universe, I can't. Even though as a kid I loved the idea of RoboCop fighting Terminator, and Dark Horse did a Alien versus Predator versus Terminator crossover series, which had hybrid Alien Terminators, which sounds as silly as it looked. Um, so I I feel like people can't. Some stuff just does need to be crossed over, and we're seeing it with current toy lines right now.
Right.
Um, but without it. really just coming off as just like a really bad fanboy idea that someone's just thinking, like taking toys and just mashing them together, like, oh, this would be awesome, RoboCop versus the Predator. Like, no, 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 it really wouldn't be. It's not a very interesting idea. Um,
Now,
could and
now Batman versus Predator, like that's one of those things
that
that the character and the way that the characters operate mesh well enough
yeah,
that it creates something that that is decent and great,
yeah, that made for a
decent
very
to
intriguing
great.
story. Yeah, because they I never read it because I was kind of like not interested, like because Batman versus Predator was so successful. Let's do Superman versus Predator. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, and then they said, well, Superman, he loses his powers. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not interested in seeing the most powerful superhero take on, you know, if he had his powers, the Predator would not be, a formidable villain for him at all.
yeah,
Batman's taking on the alien. Like, I just feel like because Batman, outside of his intelligence and his resources, makes him, an easy character to drop into these scenarios to take on these various creatures and things like that. Wolverine, great idea, pitting the Predator against Wolverine. Unfortunately, that little miniseries pretty forgettable and lousy. It's not the worst thing I've ever read, but it's just
yeah.
like
I was
we're
kind
just
of
gonna
surprised that you read it. When you told me you read it, I was like, I can't believe. All right, Tyler read a
yeah.
newer comic. Interesting.
And I'm like, I don't. I think I just came across some more with it looked okay. It's like, you know what? I have Marvel and let me just read it. And it started off promising, and it's just like the writer's just like, hey, let me just reference Predator movies for the rest of this, and it'll be great. Like, no, you don't have an original thought in your head. So it's just it went in a direction like it was completely unnecessary, unoriginal. But Wolverine could easily work in a Predator story, very easily.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, people just don't. These crossovers could work, but some of them have no business being together.
right.
Like what we just named. Like Nathan's right. Like Batman works because that character is a very,
Well, I mean, you look at it from a Predator 2 aspect. You look at how that story goes.
yeah,
The cops are trying to figure out what exactly is going on here, and
yeah, like all
Batman
this mass murder going on.
goes
Like,
into detective mode. So
yeah,
it's basically one and the same. So it
yeah,
works.
you can drop Wolverine into that because he is a hunter. He has enhanced senses. It's just someone he if he smells something odd, like the predator tracks people based on heat and can stay invisible. Wolverine could smell the predator being around. Like
Yeah.
that is something that yes, that would work. Do I want to see Spider-Man fight the predator? No.
No.
Do I want to see Captain America fight the predator? No. I just feel like only certain characters could work in these kind of situations with these other characters from other universes, stuff like that, and just kind of mashing Turtles and He-Man just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Thundercats and He-Man makes more sense because the universes and the characters there are so many similarities. I take great pride in like trying to like if you really wanted to really build it up, you could have Froster versus Chilla, Panther versus Ninja, Roboto versus Two Time, Snowman of Hook Mountain versus Icer.
Oh,
Just
what are
random.
you saying that because you have those said drawings hanging on your wall?
Yes, I do, right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm like, and people are just like, do you see what they come up with? It's like, dude,
Yeah.
this works so much better, and you don't have a clue on. It just writes itself if you know the mythology about He-Man and Thundercats. But you can't. He-Man Transformers. No, I
Yeah.
don't. I don't need to see that. Same. So He-Man Silverhawks. No, I don't need to see that. Turtles versus Turtles and Ghostbusters. That's not a bad idea. I've
Yeah.
never read
Like
the books, but it's also one of those things like Ghostbusters are about the supernatural. Turtles are about fighting mutants and ninjas. They take place in New York. It's a bit of a stretch,
yeah.
you know, but it's also I think it's one of the things I never sought it out because um I just it's kind of hard to like what are they gonna do? The Ghostbusters are just average guys who hunt ghosts.
Yeah.
The turtles are do they're in shape mutants who fight ninjas and various
But
other
that's when you have the turtles come up against something that they can't fight, which would be the paranormal, and that's
yeah.
when they have to team with the Ghostbusters. I don't. Yeah, it's
It's
something.
yeah.
It's a stretch, but it's something. I guess if you really started to try to break it down, that's something that you could make work. Like the that animated movie, Batman, the Ninja Turtle Batman movie was pretty
Yeah.
solid. It wasn't bad.
it wasn't bad. I've not gone back to rewatch it. I was not, like the comic too. I didn't really care to read it because at first I'm like, I don't know about this. I just kind of feel like we're gonna turn, all the Arkham inmates into mutants. It just kind of seems kind of like a little too on the nose. Like, why do you have to go that way? Why can't it just be the Foot are expanding to Gotham, and the Turtles are tracking their actions to Gotham City, and Batman's, like, why does it have to be about we're going to turn
The
Mister Freeze into a
mutagen.
polar bear? Like, there's more to the
Yeah.
turtle mythology than just turning everybody into
Well,
mutants.
yeah, that's kind of the problem when Turtles is it's always got to rely on mutagen. Like,
Yeah, it's like,
no,
dude,
it doesn't.
there's so much more. I mean, for God's sakes, the first Turtles movie, outside of like the backstory, there's no mention of mutant at all in the movie,
Yeah.
and I like that. So it's just not everything can work, but it's a lot of things that may not work can work if you look at it the right way, and you're not just applying as like your fanboy theories and just
Well,
smash
it's
them
like, yeah,
together
it's like you said, taking the action figures and
and
smashing them
just
together.
beating them together like, oh, this is awesome, isn't this so cool? Like,
Yeah.
all right.
All right. We'll end it on that note. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Give us your ranking out of 10 for Betrayal of Stratos. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe. And until later, let the power return.
The christening wig, I've had it since infancy. Oh, you ain't got it no more, Peckerhead.
Wow. All right.
I think our friend Tom would probably be the only person who knows what this movie is.
All
'Cause
right. So it's going to be no of those shit movies, right?
no, it's not a shitty movie. It came out in theaters and it was a massive bomb.
Oh, boy. Yeah, but he also didn't get dirty work when we had him on. So.
No, he didn't. He should be ashamed of himself too.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Because I think he has seen this movie. Is the only reason I say that Tom would get this quote.
Give me a hint.
Well, David Letterman makes a small cameo in the movie.
That doesn't help me at all.
Okay. They homage Ray Harryhausen movies with this comedy from the 90s. It came out in 1994.
1994. Yeah.
The star of this movie had a short-lived sitcom on Fox in the early 90s too.
No. I got nothing. You got me stumped.
All right. Cabin Boy.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have got that. I think I've only seen pieces of that on TV.
Yeah, we loved it because we like Chris Elliott because of that short-lived sitcom on Fox called Get a Life. But I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. It's a movie
that's fair.
Yeah, it's a fun film. It's got its moments. Some of it kind of falls a little flat, but it's a fondly remembered film. I haven't seen it in probably 30 years. But
I'll see. Let's see if it's streaming anywhere.
Yeah, I have it on DVD because I remember when I bought it at Best Buy, one of the clerks said, "My Cabin Boy." Like, oh my God, there's another human being who not only knows this movie but likes it. So,
it's showing here that I would have to pay for it. I'll see if maybe someone's uploaded the thing in full on YouTube. I'm sure they probably have.
I like it, but I would encourage you to pay money for it.
I mean, that's fair. Like,
yeah,
that's understandable.
If you can find a way to watch it for free, I would go that
route. Big thanks to all of you that joined us live tonight, and thank you for tuning in after the fact as well.
Thank you.
We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.
Bye.
Bye.